Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we got a lot to talk about. And at the beginning of the video, we are going to talk about a very important article that Quant website actually published it. And I think it is written by the man himself, Mr. Gilbert Verdian. And before that, I actually think Sebastian was the first one that talked about this article. So definitely give him a follow. He deserves all the credit because honestly, he actually provides fantastic content about QNT, and this article is definitely another one of them. Now, in case that you are a new viewer and maybe you haven't watched my previous couple of videos, you should know that recently there has been some pretty interesting news about Quant, and it was the fact that UK Finance announced that the country's tokenized sterling deposit project, which is by the way basically digital pounds issued by commercial banks, is actually moving from testing to live pilots using real money. And here is the key part for you. Quant is the tech partner that is powering this whole system. And this is, my friends, the first real step towards using blockchain in the core of the United Kingdom's banking infrastructure. And it is being done by the biggest names in the industry. We are talking about Lloyds, Barclays, HSBC, NatWest, and a couple of others. Now, what makes Quantrol so fascinating and interesting is that they are not replacing the bank system, okay? It's very, very important to understand that they are trying to connect all of them, and each bank has its own legacy setup, and trying to force them all onto one platform would absolutely result in a disaster. And if you expect them to basically ditch their old setups and come up with a new one from scratch, that's also very much, in my view, not realistic. Instead, in here, Quant is going to act as kind of an orchestration layer that lets all these different systems talk to each other smoothly without really needing to destroy their legacy setup, okay? This is really the key part. And Gilbert Verdian, the man himself, described this approach with three main ideas. Number one, uniformity. Number two, ubiquity. And number three, interoperability. In simpler terms, that means a digital pound from one bank is equal to a digital pound from another bank, and this can be used anywhere from small payments to maybe large settlements, and every system involved can commute seamlessly in this process, which is what you want to see. And the project is actually already showing you what this looks like in real world. For instance, retail users will be able to make much safer person-to-person payments. Like for example, I don't know, maybe you want to buy something on Facebook Marketplace without really worrying about scams, because the money is going to stay locked until, this is the key, both sides confirm the deal, which is great. Also, in property transaction, this is going to simplify the headache of moving money between buyers, sellers, and mortgage providers. And in wholesale market, this is going to allow instant settlement for things like digital bonds, which is actually something banks have wanted for many years. And what this means for Quant, in my view, is massive, because this literally proves, in my view, that their model actually works beautifully, and they have been saying for years and years and years that the future of finance won't come from replacing old systems, but from integrating with them. And this project completely and beautifully confirms that idea in the biggest way possible. And as more banks start using this system, the demand for Quant network, and by extension, you know it, the QNT token itself that is powering the whole network, is going to just simply naturally increase. And this is real world usage for you. And by the way, I forgot to tell you this, when you consider an increase in demand as a result of this, and at the same time, a total supply capped, I think it was at about 14.8 million token. Well, okay, what do you think is the road for price? I think the only way is going to be from this point up for us. And I'm not saying that this is going to happen overnight. No, give it some time and follow the news. And all we have to know and understand is that we are absolutely going to stay on the right direction. And based on what we are seeing, I think it is safe to say that we definitely are. Now, in terms of possible future effects, okay, this in my view is going to give Quant a whole new level of importance, and they are no longer just building tools. They are becoming the foundation other banks and institutions will build on top of. And since they are the ones powering the whole network, okay, they are going to be able to license their technology directly to these institutions, which is very, very important. And you might ask why? Because this is a steady, high value revenue model with some of the biggest clients in the finance. And honestly, what more do we want from a crypto project? Also, another very important thing in here is trust. You see, getting approved and used by 6 of the largest and most heavily regulated banks in the United Kingdom actually gives Quant a huge edge over everybody else. And these banks do not just pick new technology providers overnight. Absolutely not. Every single thing in here has to go through strict testing and security checks. So for Quant to be powering real transactions, okay, it means that they have cleared all of that, and that kind of validation is unbelievably hard to beat. And finally, as my last point on this article, you see, this success, in my view, is going to create what's called a moat, and it is basically a protective barrier against competitors. If another country, I don't know, maybe in Europe, possibly even in Asia, wants to build its own tokenized deposit network, well, okay, they are naturally going to look at who has already done it successfully. And right now, that, my friends, is QNT. So, in essence, this GBTD project, in my view, is going to put QNT right at the center of how digital money and tokenized assets are going to be operating in United Kingdom and likely in many, many other countries soon. And that, my friends, is a very important reason to be optimistic and bullish on Quant and what they are doing. Now, there's also another piece of very, very important news that I want to talk about, and this actually connects perfectly to everything happening with Quant, and that, my friends, is Oracle's new platform called Digital Asset Data Nexus. You see, if you don't really know Oracle, okay, at first glance, I guess it makes sense to think, you know what, maybe this is going to be a competition for QNT. However, this is actually, in my view, the opposite, and I'm going to tell you in a bit why. Essentially, in my opinion, what Oracle is right now building is the best possible opportunity for Quant. And you might ask, why is that? You see, it's very important to know, and I have talked about this, I think it was like in many videos back, but I will admit this, I haven't really covered this subject enough, so it's very much understandable that my regular viewers not really knowing what is going on in here, but we are here, we are going to talk about why this is such a massive deal. You see, it's very important to know that Oracle is one of the biggest tech companies in the world, and their clients include most of the major banks and corporations globally. And with this new platform that they are having, Oracle is going to basically tell all of them, we will give you everything you need to build and manage your own tokenized asset. So essentially, they are creating the tools, the ledgers, and even the AI systems handling things like compliance, risk, and also reporting. And to keep it simple and not busy, let's just say this. Oracle is literally giving its customer a full tokenization toolkit, and they can pick a blockchain, I don't know, maybe let's say Hyperledger, and use a low-coder builder to create things like deposit tokens or even stable coins and connect everything to their existing banking systems through API. But here is actually the key part and why we should, as QNT investors, care very much about this. You see, every single one of these new systems that Oracle is helping banks build, okay, these are absolutely isolated. Each bank's digital asset platform will be its own private network, and that is exactly where Quant comes in clutch. Because you should know that Quant and Oracle are actually very important and huge partners, and Gilbert Verdian, the CEO himself, actually used to work at Oracle, and Overledger is already listed on the Oracle Cloud Marketplace, and that means what? Yep. Oracle's 400,000 plus customers can already integrate Quant's technology directly into their system with just a few clicks. So when Oracle gives a bank the tool to build its own tokenized system, okay, it actually is creating the exact situation that Quant is designed to solve. And that situation Yep, it is called fragmentation. And imagine, for example, like 100 banks all using Oracle's platform to build their own private ledgers. That is great for innovation, but none of those ledgers naturally are able to talk to each other. Bank A cannot easily settle with Bank B, and that is like a huge problem. And guess what? Quant is here with its overledger technology to fix that exact problem by connecting all these separate systems so they can actually communicate and move value between each other smoothly. And essentially, we are having a situation where Oracle is going to build silos and Quant is going to connect them all. So essentially, I think it is very much safe to say that this actually turns Oracle entire sales network into a massive funnel for QNT. And I promise you, every single time Oracle sells its tokenization platform to a bank, that bank automatically is going to need interoperability, and Quant is the ready-made certified solution in here. And again, when you think about the GBTD project and the fact that Quant is literally validated by 6 huge institutions, well, okay, here's a question for you. If you are a bank, do you have a better option than QNT? I don't really think so. That's why I think this is actually the perfect setup. Oracle is going to handle the infrastructure, Quant is going to handle the interoperability, and together they are basically accelerating the move towards multi-ledger financial world. And that is exactly what Quant has been preparing all along. So to wrap all this up in simpler terms, this is essentially a situation where Oracle is going to create the demand and Quant already has the solution for that demand. And this news doesn't just support Quant's vision, it actually turbocharges it, in my view, in a big way. So if based on the previous partnerships that QNT had, you were thinking that we couldn't really get any more bullish than that, well, may I suggest, based on the recent events, actually think again. And if you care about the fundamental of a crypto project that you are investing in, well, okay, I think it is safe to say that in that area, Quant is absolutely fine. The question is, what is going on the live chart? Because I think we can all safely say that in the short term, at least, the price doesn't necessarily reflect the fundamentals. But I'm here to tell you, I think in the next couple of months that is going to change, and in fact in the midterm we do have a perfect setup for a beautiful huge bull run. Okay, so real quick before we check out the live chart, you should know that today we are having FOMC statement and we are going to, in my view, get a 0.25 cut, and that's pretty much, I'm gonna say, a given, because I think I saw the numbers, about 98.9% voted that we are going to get a cut. So you can definitely count on that. And the way that these cuts usually work in like very short term, right the moment when news comes out, is that since it's actually a given, market actually starts to go down a bit, and then we get a decent move on the upside. So if by the time that this video goes out, you are seeing some volatility on the live chart, don't worry, it's just part of the process. After 24 hours, everything is going to probably calm down and we are going to be back at the normal moves. Now, let's go on 30-minute time frame first and see what is going on in here. And I think the last time that we talked about QNT, we were right around these areas, and the idea was that, well, okay, the fact that we are seeing a move on the upside is a good sign, but what we do not want to see is actually a move down in order to take this important low. And unfortunately, as you can see, we have done that. So who knows, maybe this move is going to continue just a little bit more. And as long as we are not taking this important low down here about $77, I'm going to say, you know what, maybe this is kind of like a 1-2 structure. And even if in Quant we go down and we take this low as well, I don't really think that we are going to get some insane moves on the downside. For example, a couple of days ago, I think I got into a conversation with one of you guys on Twitter that said maybe we should sell about 70% of our QNT holding in hope that the price is going to go down to somewhere around, I think they talked about maybe $55-60, and then we are going to re-enter. Now, do not get me wrong, on paper, this strategy sounds amazing, but I also asked him this: what if we don't actually get a move on the downside and instead from these areas, or maybe like just a bit lower, we are going to start a beautiful uptrend. At that point, what should we do with that 70% cash? And they said, okay, you'll just be happy with that 30%. Never mind the fact that you sold some right around the lows. And I'll be honest with you, I just don't really think the fact that we should sacrifice our long-term holdings to gain maybe in the short term couple of percent is actually a good idea. If you want to look at this from a trading perspective, you know what, that's absolutely fine. But selling your long-term holdings in order to play the short-term structures, I think that is like a really, really dangerous play. And if you are selling, okay, I'm really hoping that the price is going to go down and you manage to buy it back. If not, you are going to have some problems when we get a good move on the upside in QNT, and for that matter, I'm going to say in a lot of altcoins, because at that point, you are really going to be frustrated and say to yourself, well, okay, why did I get a bit greedy and sold part of my QNT bags in order to maybe buy back lower? After all, you want to remember that none of us, let me just repeat that, none of us know for sure what is going to happen next, okay? We are just here analyzing the charts. So if you want to play with your long-term holdings like that, fair enough, more power to you. Personally, I just don't think this is necessarily a good idea. Now, I told you that I'm going to check out the long-term structures and see what is going on. Let's go on weekly time frame, and maybe it's best to, at least right now, check out some indicators and see what is going on. Let's just bring up MACD. Where is it? There we go. How about a stock RSI? It's here. Okay, so as you can see in MACD, yep, unfortunately we still have a sell signal, which is not really a good look. And in stock RSI, I was really hoping before this crashing event that this buy signal right in here is going to do the job. But yeah, you know what, we weren't that lucky, and instead we got yet another sell signal in here. However, I don't really think that we can ignore the fact that at the moment we are basically the most oversold that we have been in QNT for a long time. And the last time that we were around these levels, it was right in here, and when we got a buy signal from this point, about let's say $67, we essentially got something like a 100% move on the upside. How about the previous time that we were oversold? We were right around here, and yes, initially we got a move down, but then we got a bounce back, and from, let's actually say this point, about $64, let's zoom in more so we can see the charts a bit better, excuse me. Okay, from, as you can see, sorry about that, yes, about $74, we got, yep, still around like a 100% move on the upside, which is definitely not that bad. The point that I'm trying to make is this: if you really do not care about the short-term price action, maybe close this chart and come back when you see buy signals in MACD and a stock RSI in weekly time frame at the same time. And I think I can almost guarantee that at that point, yes, the price is going to be a bit higher, but again, you're also not really going to deal with some choppy price action, something like this, in order to get on your net. Personally, for me, I actually view these types of moves on the downside as decent buy opportunities. It's just the fact that the price really hasn't gone down enough for me to say, yeah, you know what, I should buy some more QNT. My average purchase, I think, is somewhere around like $65, $67. So as long as we are above that level, I don't really think I should add more QNT to my portfolio. Now, in terms of what is going on in the long term, from the highs about, let's say, $430 all the way back up here around September of 2021. In my view, we just have been in a consolidation pattern, simple as that. And in terms of Helios waves, odds are this is actually a triangle structure, an ABCDE. And I'm going to say that it most likely ended right around this area. And that means, okay, off of the lowest low in Quant, by the way, we are able to find the subwaves. I've shown it to you so many times, so we're not really going to go through that process again. I think this is a 5-wave up to about this point into a wave 1, followed by, I still believe this is an ABC in form of an expanded flat into wave 2. And what happens next when our correction is over? I think you know the answer. We are going to have a good move up into wave 3 and 4 and 5. Now, If you do not care about Elliott waves, okay, that's absolutely fine. May I suggest just pay attention to this. For about, I think it has been more than 5 years, the price in QNT has just been constantly setting lower highs and on the other hand, higher lows. Essentially, the price has been getting compressed more and more, and one way or the other, we are going to break this pattern, okay? Let me just repeat that. Going sideways like this is not really realistic, and it's not, I don't think, even possible. Now, whether we are going to get a breakout, meaning a break on the upside, or maybe we are going to have a breakdown, you know what? Fair enough. That can be all for the base, and that's actually exactly why I want to combine fundamentals with technical analysis in order to have a better idea of what is going to be hopefully the general direction. And in QNT, okay, I think we are having fantastic fundamentals, and that's why I think this pattern is actually going to finally break out by the end of this cycle. And whether the end of this cycle is going to be in the next, I don't know, maybe 2-3 months, or maybe preferably actually I would say in the next 9 to 10 months, I don't really have any problem with that. I am extremely patient. I come from traditional markets where if I see like a 20% gain, I'm going to be very happy, okay? So I think waiting for like a 500 to 700% move on the upside, even starting from the current point and not my average purchase, is very reasonable. And so what? It is going to take a bit more time. I don't really view this as like such a massive problem. What I do care about is this. The overall structures in QNT, in my view, look absolutely amazing. And by the way, I actually forgot to tell you this. You see, this chart is from TradingView, and if you want to say that from this point we should count waves, okay, I think you can actually consider having in this area probably 5 up into wave A to about this point, followed by an A, B, C in form of an expanded flat, and you can clearly identify like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down in here, so definitely good. And then this is another 5 wave on the upside into our C leg. Followed by that, we are having a triangle. And I still do believe that we are going to get a beautiful 5 wave up. But this is going to happen by the end of this cycle. And it's going to be most likely into an A leg. And followed by that, in the next bear market, we are going to get a move down. And that is actually going to be a correction into wave B. And as you can see, by the looks of it, I don't really think that in QNT, in the next bear market, we are going to go down and take the lows down here about, let's say, $40. I think that's like very unlikely. And then after our deep correction is over, we are going to have, hopefully for the next bull run, yet another beautiful move on the upside into our C leg in order to complete the subwaves for, you know what, a WXY in form of a double zigzag. This is overall going to be my primary scenario, and as long as I'm not proven otherwise, I am going to stick with this thing. And I'll be honest with you, I think Quant is actually one of those charts that I am really confident calling for a magnificent move up in the mid to long term, and that's why it's now, I think, one of my top holdings. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Quant's price chart. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.